You asked for it.
What is up, guys? This is game 1 of Dementio versus Dkay. The Warlock is Dementio and the Mage is Dkay. It looks like to be a Freeze Mage versus Zoo Warlock. Normally this is very favored for the Freeze Mage, so we're just gonna have to see what Dementio can do here to get out of this sticky situation he's in. Now, the turn 2 Haunt Creeper versus the turn 2 Slime, I don't know as much. I probably would have actually gone with the Slime because it puts more pressure on the board immediately, and you don't have a Knife Juggler to really synergize with the Creeper anyways. The Freeze Mage's turn here is actually pretty tricky, but the Acolyte Pain is probably the best one because he has 1 attack minions, so it trades better. You get a chance to draw more, but Abusive Sergeant would be really good here for the Zoo. I think we're probably going to see the Zoo play. We're going to see the Zoo probably play Imp Gang Boss. So Power Overwhelming on the Acolyte Pain, that's a pretty good play if the Freeze Mage didn't have as much card draw, but Dementio doesn't know that. So denying the card draw isn't as impactful here. But I'd be surprised if we didn't see the Mage here go with the mana efficient play, which is which is the Bloodmate Thanos and Loot Hoarder, or even the Doomsayer. Probably the Doomsayer is decently strong here, except it leaves 2/1/1, so probably not. Okay, Ping is fine too. I would have preferred him to get the Bloodmate Thanos out, since you don't exactly need the spell power in this matchup, because Zooey will usually tap himself into range. Most of the time you don't even need Alexstrasza. More often than not, Alexstrasza as a Freeze Mage player is used to heal yourself in bad situations. You usually don't have time to play it on your opponent, or don't need to against a Zoolock. And for people who don't know how Freeze Mage works, it's basically a deck which revolves around drawing a lot of cards and then setting their opponent's health with a 9-mana card called Alexstrasza, which is an 8/8 that reduces their opponent's health to 15. And then, as you can see, the Freeze Mage has a bunch of burn spells like Frostbolt, Fireball, Ice Lance, to then just finish them off from 15 HP. And it basically draws a lot of cards and stalls out the game. Now, yeah, considering Dementio already had 6 power on board, I'm somewhat surprised to see that Doomsayer in this matchup, but it's basically basically like Healing Touch. 2 mana, gain 7 life. Now, the Emperor Pharasian is usually the play you would see here on turn 6 as the Freeze Mage. It reduces all the mana of all your cards in your hand by 1. But another option is to go for the Arcane Intellect and Ice Barrier, because he needs to draw for like freeze effects like Frost Nova and Blizzard, and then get out that second Doomsayer. Using that Frostbolt there is questionable, because basically the same thing as playing Ice Barrier. You're just denying 8 damage. And he doesn't really have any AoE effects in his hand to set up for. Yeah, this is really defensive from the Freeze Mage. Like, I really disagree with this because he's not trying to draw into answers. He's just delaying the inevitable. So so Dementio is actually looking pretty good here. The Zulok's plays are pretty straight up. I'd be very surprised if he ever plays a Zombie Chow this game, because he doesn't want to give 5 health to the Freeze Mage when he's trying to basically rush him down at this point. So that's basically a dead card in his hand. But besides that, Imp getting boss without Mage having Flame Strike is usually actually pretty tricky for the Freeze Mage to deal with, because every time it takes damage it spawns more minions, and I'm pretty sure those minions aren't frozen when, I might be wrong about this, they're frozen when they're spawned. Now that was a really good draw from the Freeze Mage. If he had played Emperor this turn, he would have the perfect mana to play Doomsayer or Blizzard, which would be insane. But this turn, he's going to need to wait to use the Blizzard probably until he can pair it up with the Doomsayer. I would probably Arcane Intellect here. Try to look for maybe a Frost Nova, and then Fireball, I guess. I don't like usually using burn like that in this matchup, because eventually you can just accumulate enough burn, and all you just have to is weather the storm, and when they tap themselves into oblivion at some point, due to all your AoE and clear effects, they just constantly need to refill the board, so they'll constantly be tapping. And so they'll just be at suddenly 18 HP, and then you can just, if you have an Ice Block set up, you can just like Fireball them in the face, and then the next turn they're dead because Zoos run no healing. Now that's a really solid draw from the Freeze Mage. I'm pretty surprised if he doesn't go for it. Go for at least a Blizzard this turn. Try to clear up some of this mess. He doesn't need to commit to the Doomsayer. He can wait a turn. But the Freeze Mage is actually in a more decent position than I thought. If you look at it, he's at 27 HP. He's at 9 mana. He's got card draw. He's got board clear, and Emperor in his hand. So he's in a really good position. But ooh, Dr. Boom is really strong versus Freeze Mage. But usually when they're at lower health, because if a Freeze Mage were to clear Dr. Boom and they were at low HP, like massive like AoE board clear, a Dr. Boom, basically the Boom bots would kill them through the Ice Block, because secrets are only activated on your own turn. They don't if you were to kill Boombot and hit your face and you're 1 HP, you die. That's why Dr. Boom is usually really strong versus Freeze Mage. So sometimes people like to save it. Ooh, Frost Nova. I would like instant Frost Nova Doomsayer here, no questions asked. Like, it's so much value, there's nothing left over. That to me is very questionable, but we'll see. Because he's not saving any burn, so I don't know how he's going to finish this game off. Alkshaw's is a very critical draw. But there's no point Alkshawing his opponent in the face and then just getting the Ice Block popped, especially when he doesn't have the second Ice Block in hand. So, like, I really stress that he needs a Frost Nova Doomsayer or Frost Nova or Blizzard Doomsayer this turn. Yeah. Somebody, he has no burn left. He's like, I don't, it's really hard to win at this point. Yep, Hourshot to the face is really strong play here because Zoo's a really hard time dealing with an 8/8. Now, fortunately, Dementio has 2 Voidwalkers, now 3 Voidwalkers, and a Defender Vargas, and oh, Big Game Hunter. Sorry, the cards are upside down for me, so it's a bit harder for me to see it. Oh my god, that is a huge top deck, as Admirable would say. Basically, yeah, Dementio just needs to flood the board, but at this point, it's really hard for Dementio to win, especially with this build of Zoolock. It's more swarmy, which means more vulnerable to AoE. If you were the more demon-oriented Warlock, with Mal'Ganis and Void Callers, it would be a lot stronger versus Freeze Mage, because not only do you have Mal'Ganis, which makes you immune to all their burn effects, it also has much bigger and harder minions to clear for AoE. You need to more individually target them down, which requires burn. I would be very surprised to not... Yeah, there you go. Intonitis, Frost Nova, and next turn he gets lethal. There you go. This is just a desperate attempt, but it does prevent lethal. And this is when not having used the burn earlier is going to hurt him a lot. We're probably going to see a Blizzard here, and I would be surprised if he didn't pair it with the Acolyte of Pain. Yeah, that's really solid. To pop the egg, Blizzard. He can play the Loot Hoarder and Ping, which is more mana efficient, but I would probably like to see the Acolyte because it gives a potential for more draws, which means you can pretty much guarantee another burn spell, because that'll be 3 draws total next turn. Oh my god, that is a card. That is a really good card. But I don't think... It's not enough because he still has Ice Block up. He can actually just play Healbot, Ping, and Acolyte, and he's fine. And he can clear the Nerubian. He won't even be able to pop block next turn. The Warlock won't even be able to pop block, so... Yep, that's pretty much GG at this point. I mean, he played him... This turn was playing in the wrong order, but it doesn't really matter. He should have played the minions first and then played the Reliquary. That way he would get as a 5/5. But well played to the Freeze Mage. Now, Dkay's Mage will be locked out for now. Sorry, for next series I'll try to get the players' classes. This series I don't have them. So we're just going to be pretty much at the mercy of what they play. I'm not going to be able to speculate on what they may potentially play. Hunter versus Warlock. This is usually a massive favor for the Hunter. That is an interesting tech card from Dkay as a flare. It's pretty good at the moment because there's a lot of secrets in the meta. Secret Paly, Freeze Mage, well, every kind of mage runs secrets at this point, and hunters themselves. So now this is mid-range hunter, so it's less favored for the hunter usually, but still slightly favored for the hunter, especially versus the swarmy zoom lock. That makes them very vulnerable to Unleash the Hounds, which is a card that spawns 1 mana charges for each minion your opponent has on the board. So when you have a bunch of 1/1s, when your opponent has a bunch of 1/1s, it's really, really good, which this deck basically does. Now Dementio has a really good start here, like insanely solid. Void Walker is the second best 1-drop in the game against Hunter, Zombie Chow being the first. Now for the Hunter here, he has actually quite a few options. Most people, I would maybe just go with the Animal Companion, but the Quick Shot, Leper Gnome is also a play, and the Hun Creeper Coin Quick Shot is also a play. I think the Animal, or Coin Shredder, but I think the Animal Companion is probably really solid. Pretty much no matter, Misha is actually the worst result here, especially when the Warlock has Implosion. It just makes you vulnerable to an Implosion play. Silencing that Scientist is really important, especially since Dementio has no idea what kind of Warlock, Hunter he's playing against right now. So, so it could be explosive, all we know, so it's really stronger against it. So, Mad Scientist basically pulls a secret from your deck, and one of the secrets is an explosive trap, so which is really strong against it. Now, if he knew he was playing mid-range, he may have saved the silence for something like a Savannah High Main, because denying 2/2s is actually better than getting one of your 1/1s freezing trapped. But you just never know. At this point, it should be pretty apparent, the Pilot Shredder, that Dkay is playing mid-range Hunter. Or at least hybrid Hunter, which is a combination of face Hunter and mid-range Hunter. I'd be very surprised at no coin high main, or at least double coin Animal Companion. He needs to get the most on the board as possible right now against that Sea Giant. Like, that was the best one. He needs to trade into the Sea Giant right here. As Hunter, you usually need to judge based on your hand what type of plays you need to do. If you would have kill commands and Unleash the Hounds, you would go face here 100%, because all the rest of his cards go face. But his hand says, I need to go for board control, so he should probably trade into the Sea Giant here. Yep, and that's what he's going to do. Now for the Zoolock here, I would try to get that Reliquary out as a 5/5. You need to get something big on the board here. So yeah, the Argus into the Reliquary seems really solid here. I think he wrote. Unleash the Hound is actually pretty weak here. It only spawns 4 charges, which can only clear one of the minions. So I think he just probably needs to coin high. I mean, just play up the high main here. I mean, he can try to go to for Leok and Intel Unleash. That's really strong as well. This is just, in my opinion, it's like a weak play. Like he's limiting the value he could have gotten from Unleash the Hounds, and he's not developing the high main, and he really needs to develop that high main to get the sheer value and out of it, and force his opponent to try to commit a lot to the board to deal with the high main, and then he prays into Unleash. So I'm very surprised he's taking so long to develop this high main. The Zulok plays have so far just been really straightforward. Like, I would have liked to maybe... I mean, his positioning is fine. I may have put the egg in the middle, but probably making sure the Imp King boss and the egg are next to each other is probably the most important thing. But you usually want to Argus the egg, always, so putting it in the middle is probably a little stronger. And for the Hunter here, he just needs to develop that high main. That's like his only play. He needs to develop high main, and then play the Leper Gnome, and then probably kill the 2/2 with his bow, and then go face the Hound. Holding on to it isn't too bad, but the issue is on board he can clear the high main now completely. He can trade in the Reliquary, and then he can trade the Imp-King boss with the 2/2. But Paul probably, Dementio probably won't go for that play. Here. I'd be very surprised if he didn't, Mortal Coil there, like a boss, but... Ooh, Sea Giant. But yeah, he's probably going to play Abusive Sergeant here. And then he can actually double Abusive Sergeant and use the spare part, and he can kill the high main. And then he can trade an in-game boss and a 2/2. I mean, trading the Warlock here is fine. It means you get to develop the Sea Giant, because I think the play I said you would have too many minions on the board to even develop the Sea Giant. So this is more of a tempo play over a value play. Tempo is when you sacrifice card advantage for bigger board presence. That's an easy way to explain tempo. And it's looking pretty hopeless here for the mid-range Hunter. He's just running out cards and dying to the Warlock hero power that basically just allows him to draw cards two cards every single turn, and that's why you can see a giant card disadvantage for the Hunter. Oh my god, I can use my mouse. I'm... But... Here's a Warlock player. Pretty sure I would power overwhelming the 1/1, kill the Misha. I guess not. Paul's gonna go for a different option. And yeah, that's actually lethal. Okay, so now the score is 1-1. So each players have 2 decks left. I don't know if any of the other series have finished yet. I would doubt it, but they started a little earlier than this series did. Okay, we're gonna go into the next game here. See what's up. Okay, Dkay is replaying his Hunter, and Dementio is playing his Secret Paly, it looks like. And that's a pretty heavy hand. I like that he kept the Challenger. This is a thing I personally do as well. Even without coin, just so important to draw that Mysterious Challenger and play it on 6, that even, like, risking having a worse start is better than not drawing Challenger. Like, Challenger is so critical for the deck. And as you guys can see, Mysterious Challenger, he's a 6-mana 6/6 that puts one of each secret into your deck onto the battlefield. And Dementio is basically just God drawing here. He just drew the best card of his deck, which is Shield Minibot. And he is about to go into Muster for battle into Shredder. This is an insane draw from the Secret Paladin. But the Hunter has Unleash here, so he's in pretty good position. I'm curious to see if he's going to play Unleash this turn. I would probably still go with the Animal Companion. Try to develop a little bit more. Actually, no. The Unleash and the coin abuses are really good here, because even in the worst case secret, yes, which is Avenge, he can coin out the abusive and kill that one, the buffed one. The Unleash is actually really solid here. Gonna, yep, and pop the shield. Probably see Pilot Shredder here because it gives him more eventually more options down the line to be able to play Shieldbot plus Shieldbot plus something else, like maybe a Cog Hammer, another Muster for battle next turn to fill his 5 slot. Well, if he were to play the Minibot and Hero Power, he's forced to play the Shredder next turn. So. Yeah, I'd be surprised to not see the trade here and then play the other creeper. I think developing the Mad Scientist as fast as possible was the correct play as well. I'm surprised at not developing the creeper. Looks like he wants to try to burn the Secret Paly out here. With the kill command and maybe drawing some other burn like Quick Shot, it might be possible, but he's already used one of his main forms of burn, which is Unleash, as board clear. So it's just a questionable play to me to not play the other creeper here. Sorry guys, I need to take a drink. It is Freezing Trap, which, as you can see, when your opponent's minion attacks into it, it gets returned to your opponent's hand at 2 additional mana cost. So it makes cards really hard to play after it gets Frozen Trap. That's why it's so strong, and it's also so strong because it always triggers, like Snake Trap, Explosive Trap, Bear Trap. They have conditions like they either need to attack the hunter itself or attack a hunter's minion, and so you can actually kind of guess what it is, and then you can always avoid playing into that trap. Freezing Trap, the only way you can really counter it is to have a good minion to run into Freezing Trap, so it puts a lot of control in the hunter's hands. Now, Dementio here gets a full Christmas tree, all 5 secrets, which are Noble Sacrifice, Repentance, Competitive Spirit, Avenge, and Redemption. And basically, from here, like most of the time, the game is just over. But we'll see, because especially with the turn 7 boom to follow it up, like just basically killing any of these creatures will trigger a ton of secrets that will buff and revive them, and it makes it hard for the opponent to attack. And even here you can see it reduces the health of the minion they played, the first minion they played, to 1. Like, pretty much, I think the play that Dkay is going for is to draw second kill command. But I not even that I think will be lethal. So Creeper, kill command, quick shot would work. No, it wouldn't. So that's still 8 damage. So there's no top decks here for Dkay to get out of this situation. Basically just waiting for this game to end. I don't see any situation for Dkay to get out of it. Which means Dkay is gonna have to play this hunter again. And I'm curious what Dementio brought for his final deck. We haven't seen it yet. Yeah, it's best of 5, somebody. Because there's so few players who make it best of 5. Like, the thing about these tournaments is we're going to try to do flexible formatting based on the number of attendance we have. If we have a whole bunch of people show up, the series is going to be a little bit shorter. That way we can get through the entire tournament. But since we have less people here, we're going to make the series longer. That way there's more content for you guys and more playtime for these guys. So it works out for everybody. Now it's going to be Secret Paly versus Druid. Now, if Dementio knows that that was Secret Paly, he should have kept Big Game Hunter. Big Game Hunter for the Druid in this matchup is the most important card in the matchup. It's, in my opinion, more important than Wild Growth, it's more important than Innervate, it's more important than anything. Because the most important thing to do is to Big Game Hunter that Mysterious Challenger when it gets avenged. That's really the only way Druid really has a way to come back from a Mysterious Challenger, is to Big Game Hunter it. But then again, Dementio doesn't know this is Secret Paly, and most people don't think that way. But just for you guys, that's how I feel about the matchup, and that it's important, if you think your opponent's Secret Paly, to keep that Big Game Hunter in your hand, because you only run 1. And the chances of you drawing it before turn 6 again is really low. And on top of that, even if they don't play Challenger, they're probably going to at least play Dr. Prone. The plays here are pretty straightforward. I was surprised at the Coin Wild Growth from Dementio here. It really doesn't do anything for him, besides maybe giving him a top deck for Shade. It probably would have been better to just not coin out the Wild Growth, and then see, it ended up in the same exact result as if he had not coined out, and now he would have a coin right now, so he'd be able to make a bigger play later on. As you can see, Dkay has a Mysterious Challenger here, so, and on top of that, he's ahead on board, so Dkay is really in a lead here. Now, the Druid Claw is normally pretty strong versus most mid-range and aggressive decks, but Dkay here is the perfect answer, especially with that Shredder being at 2 HP. Unless he Dementio trades in the Shredder. Yeah, Dkay is going to run in the Shredder and then his own Shredder and then Consecrate. It's really solid play. He was thinking about playing the Owl here, but it's really questionable because he's either killing a true drop with the Owl, which is pretty good, but there's no real way he can kill the Shredder this turn, so it doesn't really benefit him right now to silence the Shredder. And yeah, see, the Consecrate here is really, really strong. Yeah, that explosive sheep is insane for Dementio here to get off the Shredder. And I'm sorry guys, I'm tuning out. I have things going on in the background that you guys can't see, so occasionally I will not be paying attention to the screen. And I also apologize for solo casting right now. Both people I asked to cast with me due to school had to bail, which is no fault of their own. But normally this will be dual casted, so look forward to that. And the plays here are really straightforward. That was a really solid play from Dementio to know that there's redemption, play the Azure Drake, because the Azure Drake is already drawing a card, so it's already getting its value. It doesn't matter that's at 1 HP as much, while another card may not get that value. So to play the Azure Drake and then to kill off that 1/1 with the Living Roots to make sure I couldn't trade in was pretty strong. I'm very shocked about this play from Dementio. I would have just played Boom and passed. There's very little reason to proc the secret here. Oh, okay, he's gonna full clear. Okay, he's just gonna swipe it. Which, this is good for Paul in this situation, except it doesn't give him initiative, which is the most important thing is Druid. Initiative is when, like, see, the Paladin right now has initiative. They're making the plays, and Dementio has to answer them. While what the most important thing for Druid is for them to be the one making the plays and their opponent to answer them, because they don't have many answers. While a lot of and their stuff is really hard to answer for most classes. Probably see a Blessing of Kings and Abusive Sergeant this turn. Maybe even the Boombot as well. I mean the Owl on a Boombot as well. Yep, this is the right line of play. Ooh, that Loot Hoarder is really good. He needs that card draw right now. He needs to draw into bigger things. Like, the fact that it's a slightly weaker minion is way worth the draw from it. Like, silencing Boombot here is solid. There really isn't much to silence from Druid, but it's understandable why he's not going to silence it. This pet's potentially like an Ancient of War, which is a 5 mana 10/10, but if you silence it, it becomes a 7 mana 5/10. And when you silence it, it becomes a 7 mana 5/5. So that does nothing. And that top deck swipe was huge. This is a really strong play here, except it's about to get silence for the 2 keepers of the Grove in Dementio's hand here. So it's pretty weak. But if there were no keeper of the Grove, this would be a really strong play to be able to put Blessing of Kings on a Divine Shield minion. I'm slightly surprised that he didn't play the Blessing of Kings, but like at this point, I feel you have to go all in a bit and just hope there's no Keeper of the Grove. He's in a hard. When you're behind the Hearthstone, you need to make risks because there's sometimes no other way you're gonna get you're gonna catch back up unless you make a risk, take a risk. I can see that somebody, but like there's like no way he wins if he has Keeper, so he needs to go for the winning play, in my opinion, which is to just go all in. Like he's not winning a long game here. He hadn't seen lore yet. He hasn't seen any of the combo pieces. Like he needs to take the board now, and so I would be very surprised if he didn't Blessing of Kings here, kill the 5/5, and then play the Knife Juggler and Hero Power and play the Owl, because he should probably play the what he plays Owl on here is irrelevant because Dementio is already at 10 mana. But normally you want to play the Owl first on the HL lore. That way you're not forced to Owl the Darnassus Aspirant. But this is a reasonable play as well. But Owl, as you can see, Dementio's combo, which means the game is over. That's why I would have preferred him to go for a full clear. Okay, that's 3-1, so Dementio wins. We're going to get the next series set up, guys, so stay tuned. Thanks.